本当？見えないでしょ？どこにいるのかな？見えないよ。
What's good, Internet? It is Tuesday, June 29th, and you are listening to Waypoint Radio, episode 406. I'm your host, Austin Walker. Joining me today, Ricardo Contreras.
Hello.
Rob Zachney.
Good morning.
And Patrick Klepek.
Hey.
Hi. Whoa, that was energetic.
You brought the energy too. You had a little pop in your step with the intro.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of those intros. You know,
yes. Sometimes you got it, sometimes you don't. And I was running late this morning. And when I'm running late, sometimes that means I don't have it. But I had it this morning. I was just running late. You know what I mean?
No. Listen, I just wanted to acknowledge that
I went to the movies yesterday. So that means I'm a new person. I feel like a human being again. I saw Fast 9 in theaters. Nice. That's a great movie to go back to the theater. Like, I really liked that movie, but I also recognize that I really liked the experience of going to a theater to see a movie again for the first time.
And that's the kind of movie to do it.
It's not just a kind of movie. I think it's specifically of the Fast series, the amount of like cameos and like cheap pops. I mean, I think it's a great movie. I think Justin Lin understands those characters and like wants to shine.
It's an audience film.
It's an audience pleaser. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Kato telling me in New York at one point when Rob and I were looking for some place to get a beer, where he mentioned that what he's been doing. Well, Kato, you should just explain what you're doing, how you've re-experienced the Fast and Furious franchise, because it is. When you explained it to me, it was a delight.
It's been a delight, and like they've been doing this since a while back, whatever 8 weeks away from the launch of Fast 9 was, but like certain movie theaters were doing free tickets to see every Friday, going in order all of the Fast and Furious movies, and I'd never seen them.
They were free tickets?
Free tickets. Like straight up, you just go on, you have to like input a specific code on AMC's website. Right. And it was like, yeah, you paid the $1 convenience fee for buying a ticket online.
And then you bought concessions.
And then I bought a bunch of food because they're always right at dinner time, so whatever. But I would have bought that food and a ticket before. Now I'm just buying the food. Yeah.
Sure.
AMC doesn't know they were missing out on more Kato money.
But yeah, I'd never seen them before. I was like, this will be great. I missed the first two because I got on tickets too late and everyone else was on that quicker. They were only showing it in like one theater at one time, so it's like, or one theater per one.
Right, I know what you mean.
Yeah, one theater per actual
per
theater location.
One screen per theater.
Yeah, there you go. That's a better way to say it. So I ended up watching
those. Did you go through all
on
of them? Did you watch all 8?
Yeah. I saw the first 2 at home because I missed out on the theater for that one. I saw 3 through 8 in the theater with people, and like it was really great because for some reason those were a little emptier. So it was like an easy way to get back in until they hit 5. 5 was a very full one, but also was the most fun because every single character reveal in that movie people were fucking popping off at, because it was like, you know, the return of a bunch of favorite characters from earlier.
Well, it made it sound like when you go to, you know, when people go to watch like The Room or Rocky Horror Picture Show, like something
that
where
was
it's
absolutely
it's a communal experience where it is expected that all theater decorum has been tossed out in favor of a group celebration.
100%.
And that just seemed, that I was like incredibly
just
jealous.
Yelling and hollering.
That like, even watching it for the first time, that seems like an ideal way to have experienced it.
It was fucking amazing. It was great. So yeah, I did. That's what I've been doing the past couple of months as on the lead up, and then I watched it this past weekend as well, and that was fucking.
It's just so good.
It's very good. Fun. It was very good.
I like there are like the Tokyo Drift like side characters are in that movie in a non cameo way, in like a way where they all have like lines and you get an update on where they're like Bow Wow is in that movie. You know, which that's more. I saw Bow Wow twice this week. That's more than I thought I'd see. Wow. He was doing a live stream with Soulja Boy. He was doing an Instagram live with Soulja Boy. They were comparing their careers outside of hip hop. Bow Wow was making the much stronger case on the facts that his do-rags are like everywhere, and they're like everywhere. The Bow Wow branded do-rag is widely available across the country, probably across the world. But Soulja Boy was very compelling in the way he was lining up that he had new Soulja Boy lemonade that you could get at 7-Elevens, you could get at Sitco's, and that it was very good. And also he was just roasting the hell out of Bow Wow. Like, Bow Wow just doesn't have it like Soulja Boy has it these days. You know what I mean? Soulja Boy never lost his flair.
Bow Wow needs to ask where his Soulja Boy handheld console
I would love to know. We ordered one. It never showed up.
I put in a credit card number. It wasn't charged, but they got that info. They can charge that at any time. And I will forget to expense it.
Soulja Boy is sitting on that info. If he ever
doxed ourselves, Austin.
It's true. It's true. God. Anyways, that's why I have a little pep in my step. Fast and the Furious plus watching Soulja Boy and Bow Wow Instagram lives. How could I not?
Classic weekend.
Classic weekend. Hey everybody, welcome to the Classic Weekend. We should do a Classic Weekend event. That sounds great.
What would
this is the classic tunes and retro games.
What is okay, all right.
Yeah, that sounds right.
What are our classic tunes though?
I don't know. Classic Weekend to me, like I've been waiting
Japanese
for something to happen.
Pop.
Japanese city, okay. It's already broader, but it's in line with what I was gonna say, which is I've been waiting for a turn to happen in American radio station genre, which is we are reaching the point where millennials are getting old, and millennials grew up on a very particular blend of music because hip hop was finally being appropriated by brands in our lifetimes. And
you've made it when Pepsi's like, well, let's go.
Not only do you have white boy bands biting on the vibes of black boy bands from the late 80s, but now you also have like I think when we were listening to Britney Spears and NSYNC, on pop stations, that was also the era where we saw a lot of black hip hop like groups break through to white audiences for the first time. And I've been waiting for like the equivalent of a lot of Boys to Men
played in the household
this exists already.
Age.
But the thing that I specifically want to see blend is the classic rock station with the now classic pop and crossover R&B and rap station. That like when we're 50. I'm going to need to hear like My Chemical Romance and Kanye West and NSYNC back to back. That's gonna have to happen.
I'm shrinking.
Throw some
I'm
city
shrinking
pop in there. Right, like this is the thing.
So
is like we're gonna live in that world.
Station is gonna be wow.
Right. Well, that's the thing is like the contemporary classic rock station has adjusted by just moving the needle forward and pulling like early Green Day.
So
into
what do they call?
I mean,
it's oldie stations could be oldie stations because it's like the advent of the technology, and so like it can kind of go along that continuum pretty.
But oldies is even moved up, right? I think at this point.
But what do they? I'm just kind of like, what do they call themselves? When you want to listen to like 70s, like do they say like we're like
that's
70s?
oldies?
Like, that's so oldies.
Well, they're like the 70s, 80s, and today, right?
So you're saying oldies?
Like,
so saying the term oldies will never just like move along the timeline. Oldies will always mean that era.
No, but it has moved, I think. Rob, do you know anything about this? Rob, you're tilting your head.
I'm just going, where are old people going to listen to their jams? Older than us.
You're talking about older.
Yeah. Do they have to turn the dial to somewhere else? Or is there, I'm just wondering how the terminology is.
Apparently the oldies format is just dying. 60s music from the 60s as of 2020 is becoming increasingly rare on radio. Of the 1,000 most played songs on the radio as of May 2020, only 4 of them are from before 1970, and 3 of them also benefit from being aired on classic rock stations as well as oldies and classic hits. So maybe what I'm talking about exists as the classic hits. Okay, so classic hits is a radio format which includes songs from the top 40 charts from the 70s to the 2000s with music of the 80s as the core. So then what we're looking
does that
for
shift then the further we move in time, right?
That's my question.
Undoubtedly, someone out there is listening to this and can get, like it works at a radio station or has 100%. Please write in. I want to understand like what is the the person who runs the radio station who like doesn't want to see these songs from the 60s leave. Like what is the conversation? Like, hey.
Yeah.
We can't
What's
do
going
this
on
anymore.
internally at this point in those spaces? 100%. I'm just looking at like the list on Wikipedia of various radio formats. And there's stuff here that I've like heard of and then forgot existed, like Quiet Storm. Quiet Storm is a radio format in a genre of contemporary R&B performed in a smooth, romantic, jazz-influenced style, named after the Smokey Robinson 1975 album Quiet Storm.
Oh, okay.
But like it's that like, you know, it's the Quiet Storm. You know what I'm saying? It's you know, oh wow, this is interesting. Quiet Storm was most popular as a programming niche with baby boomers from the 70s from the mid 70s to the early 90s. That's when they listened to it. During that era, it promoted a noticeable shift in the sound of R&B at the time. Quiet Storm songs were in most cases devoid of any significant political commentary and maintained a strict aesthetic and narrative distance from issues relating to urban life. Quiet Storm appropriates R&B and soul slow jams and recontextualizes them into rotations with their peers and predecessors. Very interesting. It's all smooth and no life. You know what I mean? Right, it's all smooth and no groove. Anyway, I could just read various radio format pages forever, but we're avoiding the thing that we actually set up before we have beep, 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 beep. Rob, what's going on?
What are you doing?
Why are you playing Fortnite?
Did you like scroll through like the F in Steam and just like accidentally launch?
Like
it's the Epic Game Launcher.
Patrick.
Excuse me. Well, I guess you could you add it as a
you could
put it as an executable. I've done that.
I was going to say that as a premier journalist in the world of games journalism, you can't be ruining your credibility like that, but also at least you didn't co-sign an empty conspiracy theory that would end up leading to harassment of an indie dev. So, I'm just saying.
So this is Joel's fault, first of all.
Joel Fowler?
Yes.
Joel Fowler. How?
So,
okay.
Actually,
listen.
This is to Joel's credit.
Okay.
Jordan Ull, the journalist and leftist who probably got most notoriety for covering the military's Twitch streaming programs and fucking with them relentlessly, I guess I would say. Jordan Ull was doing a fundraiser this weekend for a Baltimore homeless charity, getting healthcare to unhoused people in Baltimore, particularly focusing on the COVID vaccine. Joel was tapped to join for a segment, and he asked me to play with him. And so I did. Adam Conover, our friend, was also part of the squad. And so there's a few things.
Okay. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, boy.
No. I had questions, but I'm going to let you lead. Go ahead.
Well, one, I had sort of expected. My assumption had been that this was kind of like one of those ironic fundraisers where like, don't make me play Fortnite. And like Jordan Ull was kind of, it was basically about like torturing Jordan. No, it turns out Jordan Ull likes Fortnite a lot and is really good at it. And
just
so
like Rob.
Just like Rob.
Yeah. And
we're always saying
just like Rob. Rob loves Fortnite.
And by the time we tuned in, we time our segment was up, like Jordan had already been sort of wrecking house for the entire weekend. He seems to have a really high victory royale rate there, or whatever the fuck it is. But
wow! Did you see? But the condescension still leaked through in discussing it.
Yeah, I guess he was raising funds for homeless people, but you know, whatever the fuck Fortnite is.
So the other thing is, because I haven't played Fortnite in about 2 years.
Yeah.
After launching the game, I just had to sit there for like 20 minutes. Watching an intro where Rick from Rick and Morty is fighting an alien invasion.
Right.
They don't seem to have voiced Rick, so it's just Rick looking and like reacting to things silently.
That's how that character works, right? I'm not a Rick and Morty guy, but he's really contemplative.
They're always praising the way the characters are just
the subtlety,
self-reflection,
the restraint.
Superman was there. As well, doing well. I would say he was doing Superman things, but in the world of Fortnite, he doesn't seem to have quite the value he does in the DC universe. Like, he's just another guy who's there. So then, once you get through the opening cutscene and everything, like, oh shit, there's aliens coming to Fortnite. It was like one screen after another of like, hey, welcome back. You haven't played in a little bit. Want these gifts? And I was like, not really. I don't really care. And it was like, look at all these gifts we gave you. Click through each gift. Open them. Look excited. React. And so it was like good, 15 minutes of being like, yes, that's a skin for a pickaxe. Love it. That's great.
I pulled this up, and I just need. I think you're underselling this intro a little bit because there includes a clip in it where like Clark Kent is at his desk at the Daily Planet, and on his TV, on his monitor behind him is Fortnite, and he's playing as Batman. He's got the Batman skin going. That's a nice gag.
That is good.
They're doing the thing they're doing out there.
Oh, I mean, to be very clear, Fortnite's cool. I liked it. Like, we'll get to that. I was like, there. Oh shit, Fortnite's fun.
Okay.
It's fun in part because when you're playing a Battle Royale with someone who's good, it's just like
ascendant.
Yeah, it's a fun night out. It's like somebody else is paying, basically. Where it's like, get whatever you want, do whatever you want, I got it. And it's like, cool, all right, this is gonna be great. And so, yeah, I felt pretty sheepish. But actually, Adam was in the same boat. He and I both loaded in, had the 1.0 like default Fortnite character skin with the army green tank top and the camo trousers and nothing else.
I don't even know if people make fun of people for having default skin anymore.
I don't
because who does? There have been enough free skins over the years that how did you not get a skin from like a Happy Meal or something by now?
Yeah, and yet there I was with that skin.
Yeah.
And the first game we played. Now, I think because a bunch of us were scrubs, I think we got match made to our level and not Jordan's.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because they have bots in Fortnite that are pretty good, but like will definitely not react super strongly to getting like, plinged with some distant long range fire. And so we got some suspiciously easy like kills. And we're starting to really feel ourselves and everything. And Jordan's like, yeah, you guys, those are probably people. Those are probably real users. Also, there's now UFOs that fly around and shoot like death rays from above. And people ride on the UFOs. They're like they're big spinning discs. And so people are just riding around the top of those things, opening fire on folks. It's fun when you do it. Sucks to have it done to you. But our first game, we won. We won by shooting down a UFO full of people. But they were bad people because they were trying to steal our dub. So we had to bring them down.
They had to be dealt with.
Yeah. And then I had forgotten. There were so many things I've forgotten, both about first of all, Tomato Town. Gone.
Is it still? I was gonna say there's no more Tomato Town, right?
Yeah, I was like, let's go to Tomato Town because I know that area pretty well. And it is no more. In fact, none of what I remember is really there anymore. I'd also forgotten what playing a Battle Royale with Joel was like.
All right, Joel was playing too, right?
Yeah, and it's like, to be very clear, I love Joel Fowler.
Oh boy,
I missed Joel Fowler.
Yeah.
I'm happy for Joel Fowler. He seems to be thriving. Congratulations, having a kid. Like he's crushing life.
Kid seems great. Had a good talk with Joel a couple weeks ago, I guess now.
But do you remember how Joel would, on the one hand, be like pretty serious and like shot callery in battle royales, but then also his slightly hummingbird-esque attention span and demeanor would cause him to break from his own shot calls, and he would just go stir shit up without telling you.
Okay, yeah, I do remember this.
And so, you would be like, okay, let's not engage these guys. It's like, cool, yeah, good call, Joel. I don't think we should engage these guys. And then you would hear brap, 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 brap.
I do remember this. Yeah.
And it's like, Joel, what's up? And he's like, I'm just shooting these guys. And it's like, the guys we're not engaging? There was a time where like he hijacked a car to drive Adam safely out of the storm, and then just kept driving into a crowd of dudes and like got him and Adam like instantly killed, like shot past me and Jordan, just like drove straight to the abyss and perished. And he was like, "Oh, okay, that wasn't a good call." And it's like, no, I don't think it was. And it was fun. It was like, I'd forgotten these nuances of playing a battle royale with Joel, which is that like on the one hand, really on his game, really serious. On the other hand, pure agent of chaos.
Absolutely. Undeniable.
And then I gotta say, like, it's such a weird experience now. Fortnite has mini games in it that I don't remember. Like there's a bounce pad map where you get orbs aboard an alien spaceship, and like you get tons of magic loot boxes out of that. And so if you win the orb game, you just get showered in like gold guns. And it's just like probably going to go away after the season, but there it is in this game. Everything's alien themed. There's this weird mini game, and then you do another drop after that now with your elite loot. The vehicles are good. They feel fun to drive. They look cool. And I guess the last point I make is by the end I got up to speed. I started to clutch things out by the end there.
I feel like we need, and journalism school, I was told that, you should get secondary sources before you take that.
Well, I tried to find the stream. Well, which channel were you
it was on the Young Turks.
Yeah, well, see, that's subscribers only. So I can't. I clicked. I tried to find it.
That's too bad. So you didn't.
I can't see your apparent.
You didn't see that clutch round where we won.
No. Oh, the famous. I saw that trending on Twitter. It was the hashtag the clutch round.
Everyone was losing it on Twitter.
Yeah, but the other thing is, I just miss playing Battle Royale. Like,
yes,
I had missed the fact that like each match in Fortnite is about 30 minutes. And the first like 10, 15, you're just shooting the shit. The last 15, you're like all in on your game. And it's such a solid rhythm. Yeah, I was take it. And I don't know what the other refinements are, but the entire thing felt a lot better than it did in the past. My actual suspicion is 2 years ago, I was playing every shooter on a monitor that was meant for like desktop photo and film editing. And so it had really good color reproduction, but was it really a 60 FPS monitor? No.
Right.
Like at 60 FPS, you would have obvious tearing. And I was like, that doesn't matter. Like, I doubt I'm good enough that makes any kind of difference.
As it turns out, it does.
It makes a huge difference to how a game feels. It makes a huge difference for how those close range shootouts feel.
Yeah.
And so the entire thing just felt much tighter.
So are you in now? Is that what I'm hearing? I'm hearing you're gonna go pro in Fortnite.
I mean, so to be very clear, in a game, like I think the representative game that we won, Jordan had 16 eliminations on him.
Yeah.
The rest of us combined had 6.
Okay.
So it was
like,
a hard
it's like
carry.
It's like playing with Will. Like it's like, oh cool.
Yes.
I'm here, but I'm really just here. Just
hanging out.
But the last game we played, like I was the one to like save us from a wipe. I got Jordan back on his feet, which is the only one we needed to win. I got Jordan back on his feet. We got the hell out of there. And then we killed a bunch of dudes when they were chasing us in our semi. And it was a ridiculous like Mad Max ending to the game where there's a bunch of cars driving around in circles and people just like opening up on each other with automatics. It rolled. And by the end I was like,
that's it. That's what you want.
Let's play more Fortnite. We have to go back.
See, this is the thing right now is anytime I click on any, I have like 2 different answers to this. The first is I would like to play a Battle Royale again. I miss them. I'm with you. The second thing is every time I see anyone talk about Fortnite, Apex, or PUBG, all of the comments in the thread underneath it are dead game.
Yep.
No matter what.
Yep.
And it's like, well, one of them has to not be dead. They're all doing fine. They're all doing well. All of them are doing well. None of them are dead games. But I no longer have an access to like the idea of which is popping in that way in the culture. And I don't
think any of them are. I think they've just settled.
Yeah.
Like they have their audiences and they ebb and flow. I mean, Apex doesn't even have its mobile game yet, correct?
I think that's true. Yeah, I don't think it
right?
does yet.
So that game is gonna, that'll be the next step for.
I played some Apex recently. I still think that game is good too. But I like the second part of this is we did that Fortnite a couple of years ago, and it broke me on the game at the time. I'm not saying I'd never go back, but I think people just didn't like us playing Fortnite because we're so shitty at it.
Yeah, we were bad. Yeah,
we were so bad at it.
And there wasn't even like Brexton Battlegrounds, like we settled on like, okay, if we approach it from this way, we can have some fun,
and we can get better at it.
We can or we can create the circumstances for which eventually a win will just happen out of random happenstance. There was never like, all right, well, Austin's gonna do this and Natalie's gonna do this and Pat, like nothing. It was just like, who's shit? Yeah. Everybody. Everyone sucks at building. Everyone sucks at shooting. And it was like, well,
I think Rob had a good handle on like the geographical component of like, here's where we should be moving. I remember that pretty clearly at the time, but I just remember us getting worked.
So I asked about this before I play it. I was like, how important is building these days? And if anything, I assumed it would be more important because I think this was where our games would fall apart is we were losing shootouts because we weren't building walls.
Yeah, in the end, when we get down to about like 10, 15 people, it would just be like...
Yeah.
A few people anecdotally were like, it's less necessary than it used to be, and playing it certainly felt that way. Like, it helps being able to quickly, like, put a building down. But it wasn't as important. Like, in some ways, the vibe was a little bit more PUBG, where it's like, do you get the jump on people? Like, do you get the first couple shots before they like realize where you are? And that's kind of the decisive point in it. And so like, it feels like being able to quickly build walls is less critical. Obviously now I've got that 120 hertz monitor, so I can carry you guys. I think.
Wow. Yeah.
I think we went back.
No famous last words there.
I would be the new Tomato Tom. I think it'd be like,
go for it. You know what? I don't need that. I see. Yeah. Great. I'm willing to try it. We've been talking about going on a tour is the thing. Mm-hmm. A tour of games.
Crowbar and Sickle looking for a new home.
And we should check it on PUBG too. We'll see if that's the one. We'll bounce around from some things. We'll try Fortnite, we'll try Apex, we'll try PUBG, we'll try some stuff that is not a Battle Royale at all over the next year or whatever. We'll see what rises to the top. I don't know. No promises.
Where are we dropping is like the meta.
Where are we dropping?
Yeah, where are we dropping?
That's the name of the series.
Austin, you did
I'm sure no one else has done
the
that.
Sequel, where are we dropping? But it's Crowbar and Sickle : where we dropping.
Crowbar and Sickle. Yeah.
Rob, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say to that point about the mimetic dead game discourse is wherever it has popped up, it is toxic.
Yes.
And so much, it seems to be driven by two things. One is like hardcore fans of a game turning against it to like punish developers for not doing more, whatever that is, or doing the right thing, whatever that is. And then there's like the game partisans who are like, no, I'm playing the right game, the one with the bright future. And you who are still having fun on this other game, you're just wrong because it's no longer in growth mode. Like Dead Game to me is like this entire wholesale adoption, completely uncritically, of like a endless growth capitalist mindset, where it's like, if a thing isn't endlessly expanding to become the biggest property in entertainment, well then it's dead. Because if something stabilizes or like declines to a really successful level, that is itself a failure. And so like at this point, I don't know if it ever had any purpose to indicate like the health of a community, but at this point it fully feels like every single game is simultaneously dead and wildly popular.
Well, the thing is that you could use the phrase to talk about certain things because they might have 500 concurrents, right? And that's just like not where any of the big battle royales are.
Marvel's
point, right?
Avengers, dead game.
Yeah, probably worth saying that in the sense that what we're talking about is there an super active community where, but I don't know. I bet if I wanted to go play Dragon Age Inquisition multiplayer, probably an actual dead game. I bet I could go get a match in Avengers if I wanted to like get into the Avengers.
But that
community,
game has dipped sub 500.
Yes, 100%.
So you're not wrong. It only ebbs and flows based on.
I was being kind by not saying Avengers before. When I said sub 500, I was thinking of Avengers.
Right. I guess I just think like dead game does not necessarily imply actually dead. It is correct, like it is saying like, oh, it's no longer relevant. And so Marvel's Avengers, they're making games. The Black Panther thing's coming out, but like you know.
Yeah,
dead
it's
game.
Not looking great. It's not looking great. Sorry. While we were talking, I was like, I want to see some Fortnite while we talk, and so I went to Twitch and I clicked on Fortnite streamers, and there was like a billion of them. I was like, oh, where do I even begin on this? And I was like, just show me the ones that are don't show me views, show me recommended for me. And number one for me recommended was Jason Mewes from Silent J, who has 147 viewers currently, playing some chill Fortnite.
Cool.
Yeah. Godspeed.
I wasn't one of the recommended clips.
I didn't click on
Sick
on
clutch
clips.
round.
Let's see here. Clips. Yeah, you're not in here. It doesn't show. Maybe again that subscription thing is really throwing it off. I'm sure that's what it is. Anyway, yeah, we should. The thing is, when we were playing PUBG, when we were doing Breakfast and Battlegrounds, that was the closest to a video game feeling like Fast and the Furious to me.
Sure. Yes.
To join these two things together. The ridiculous plan, the terrible execution.
Let's go to the
laughs.
school. Did it work out last time? No. Let's go to the school.
Let's go anyway. And so I feel like that to me, I would love to capture that feeling once again.
Shootouts on the it's going across that bridge, knowing that there's like five people just waiting to mow you down. You're just like, come on, let's go.
So yeah, after this, I'm going to Jersey this week, but after I get back next week and maybe we get resettled, and we've been saying for a while we're going to start spinning up some new things with Waypoint Plus, waypointplus.com. One of those things it allows us to do is stream more on top of our Tactical Tuesdays being back. I think we should try to bring back Crowbar and Sickle and friends and try to find a new home, play some Fortnite. We should probably play some Warzone. I didn't mention Warzone earlier. Yeah, Warzone's one of the most successful one of these at this point.
Right. We'll take a tour.
And we have all the motherboard crew who are so good at it to tell us how to play that game.
We saw how good they are. I mean, I can't think of a better team to shepherd you through Warzone.
This is very mean, Rob. We should take a break and come back and talk about some other non-Fortnite and non-Fast and Furious video games. I thought we talked about the Fast and the Furious game, but I heard that one was not pretty good. So, all right, BRB. We are back. Patrick.
Yeah.
This is week 2 of you wanting to talk about Chicory. Chicory?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's Chicory. It came out a couple of weeks back. I want to say right before E3. So like in that like game builder garage sort of, kind of got swallowed up a bit by people looking towards all the
It's a hard time to release a game. I'm always surprised when people do it there because it's easy to just lose track. Like Griftlands dropped with the 1.0 at that same point, and I was like, that's just not going to get any coverage because people are busy right now.
Yeah, and so, but I'd seen a lot of folks talking about Chicory, folks I trust on the timeline. I was like, all right, I'm going to download this. And I mentioned the game briefly on our last podcast because someone in the question box asked about like mechanics that either were kind of done dirty and you wanted them to come back or ones that you particularly liked. And one I had mentioned was like, I liked the series De Blob, the platformer series from the 360 era of like, filling in a blank canvas was just like a really satisfying thing for me to watch. And so Chicory is this world where there are these great brush wielders who are kind of like not godlike figures, but they sort of like look over. They are granted great power with this brush. And the brush is passed from like, person to person, painter to painter. You play the janitor for Chicory, the person who is wielding this brush at the time. And Chicory, I believe it starts out like it goes missing, and the brush is just sitting there. And you grab that brush, and thus, as a result of grabbing that brush, you are like one of these brush wielders. Like you are now like have the power to like change the color, remove the color in the world. And at the time, all the color has disappeared. And so like the town is kind of in a panic over what's happening. And you can explore with the left analog stick, and then the right analog stick controls essentially kind of like a mouse cursor equivalent, which is the brush. And you can switch around and put in colors, and you can remove colors, and you can do things as granular as like filling in like very specific spots in those drawings, or you can do what I do, and it's just like there's like a paint bucket equivalent. It's just like, all right, do you just want to like fill in what's around you? Because the world is both it is both an aesthetic choice and a mechanical choice, right? Aesthetically, there are frequently areas where you will walk around and it's black and white, and you can fill it in or not fill it in. And I've watched. I had to look up a bit. I was stuck, and it was fascinating to watch the person doing the YouTube video, because you could tell there were times where they would just be charmed by a scene in front of them, and they would just sit and like slowly fill that in, be very particular about the colors, and like create that scene, and then go one room over or one screen over, and it's just black and white. And that fills in on the broader map. So like when you pull up a world map, when you get access to it, you can see the spots of color. So if you choose to engage in that part of the game, you can kind of see that reflected on like the ground level of where you're walking around, and then on the world map level as you sort of fill that in. And so there's this neat dynamic in terms of this kind of like black and white comic look, and then the coloring that you're filling in or not filling in. But if you're like me and you're mostly just like treating it kind of like the Blob, where I want to see where this mechanically fits in, like there are like when you defeat the first boss, you get access to your paintbrush upgrades, and now rooms that are dark, the paint creates a path for you, and so you're putting the paint all around these rooms in order to get around. The paint has like different interactions with objects in the world, like it can bring life to things and remove life from things, and that allows you to interact with different platforms. And it's a very charming, basic Zelda like game is like the closest equivalent. You're not really like wielding a sword. There are enemies you will occasionally interact with. There are bosses, but fighting them is mostly where's the weak point, and then you like activate the brush on top of it. It's real combat is there, but it is not. It's pretty isolated. It's more kind of a casual exploration, puzzle centric game. And then so all those parts are really good, and then the other part is sort of like the plot that is occurring, and what you discover early on is like a mild spoiler, but it happens very early in the game, is the reason you find out that Chicory no longer wanted to wield like this brush is because they are depressed. And it's like a very interesting illustration of a certain kind of depression, and they're not just sad. Like you meet them, you talk to them, and they just aren't happy and can't explain it, and they're sorry about it, and they're mad. Like it's just a really interesting portrayal of like depression comes up in all sorts of media, but like rarely this nuanced, or not just used as a quick like plot explanation for why a thing is occurring. Like you get a lot of time to talk with Chicory, and then as a result, like a lot of the pressure Chicory feels in like giving up this power to like this other character who may or may not feel like they've earned it. It's just it's a really interesting setup for a game that on its face is like a charming like a go paint adventure and solve paint puzzles, and it has that, but then also has this kind of extra added weight that doesn't make it feel like an oppressively sad game to play. It just kind of gives it a gravitas and some real like weight to it that, like, I don't know, just makes it more interesting to explore the world, and like a more interesting motivation for like why your character is going forward to kind of discover like, because the Chicory is sort of has this power. as a result of like, you know, they've been doing things while they've been like working through the fact that they're depressed, and it has created certain problems in the world. And like part of you is working with Chicory to kind of figure out what that is and what you can do about it. So yeah, very, very charming game, wonderful music, great look. I've really been enjoying my time with it so far.
Nice. It's. I also hear the soundtrack is great. So it's a Lena Rain joint, right?
Yes. Yeah. So if you like me, like constantly listen to, you know, like the Celeste soundtrack, this is not it. It's like not a bunch of pixel jams, but it is just another terrific soundtrack.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at gameplay footage, and it looks extremely like chill and pretty and nice. What are you playing on? Are you playing on PC? Or are you playing on
PlayStation? Like I don't think it's a native PS5
it's not on
game.
Switch, is it?
It is not on Switch, but it is absolutely. It is a game that you play it and then you want to play it on Switch. I like did the equivalent of setting up remote play on my iPad, and so I've had nights where I'm watching 900 DMs come in from Rob and Austin about like a playoff game while I have that playoff game on, and then playing Chicory like streamed through the iPad, because they added, you know, like native DualSense and Xbox One support to the iPads and iPhones.
Yeah, I'm about to be on a bus, and so I was like, oh, that'd be a cool bus, and then a trip where it's like, you know, I'm not gonna play games like all day on that trip. It's not a vacation, and it's days off, but it's days off with family, so it's not like, all right, peace, I'm gonna go play Switch.
You might have like 45 minutes where you just have to kill it.
And like, if I could just if I could be like, oh, let me just vibe out for a little bit, I could do that. I got other stuff to play on Switch anyway. In fact, the next thing I was going to talk about is Mario Golf, Super Golf, Super Star, Super
Golf Time.
I wrote it down. Super Rush, Mario Golf, Super Rush, which is okay.
Yeah, I've been. I was kind of hoping.
Playing it also? Are you?
No, I requested this in code. It didn't come through on Friday.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have time to have gotten to it this weekend anyway. But
the core golf, let me tell you, feels good.
Yeah, I wanted you to have the counter Austin experience, and then like sell me on it differently than what seemed to be the consensus of the reviews. Is like Camelot delivers another pretty okay golf game.
I think it's better than tennis. I'm going to stick with it longer than tennis, probably.
Right.
And actually, the thing is, I think that Mario Tennis game that came out, I think is better beat for beat mechanically.
Sure.
That thing felt so good. I loved the like duels I would get in that. This, I think, is not okay. So I've only done the adventure mode so far, the main kind of like RPG stats go up mode. It's there. It exists. It's better than the story mode, quote unquote, in Mario
Aces.
Tennis Aces. Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
And because like they're doing the thing. So I guess like some backstory, I guess a little bit is a lot of people like me have a lot of fondness for the very early Camelot Mario sports games, Mario Golf and Mario Tennis. On the Game Boy Color, the Mario Golf game. I just like went back and looked at footage for this actually because I was so curious about how, like, am I remembering this right? The Mario Golf game on Game Boy Color had a campaign mode, had an RPG mode where you had stats that you were increasing, and that like didn't have a lot of Mario in it. It's mostly just like golf cartoon. It's just golf people. You're just playing golf with people. And in fact, like the very beginning of the game, it's like, well, if you're really good, maybe you'll get to meet Mario one day. And you do at the very end. You meet Mario and Yoshi and Princess Peach and stuff. Like it does happen. But it's not like a Mario game in that way. This is very much a Mario game. In the story mode in this game, you are from a class of rookie golfers, and the other people in that class with you are a Charge and Chuck from Super Mario World, a Boo, and a Toadette. And you're all staying at like a dorm, I guess. I guess it's like a dorm or like a residence hall or like it kind of feels like a what do you call those? Where like a bunch of people rent a room at a place, like a boarding house. Yeah, run by Birdo. Birdo is like everyone's like golf mom. It's very funny. I mean, this is the thing. It's like very funny conceptually. I don't think it's like super funny in writing.
Right.
There's a lot of characters to go around and talk to, but they're all Mario characters, and they all like do the various Mario character sounds. And if that sounds great to you, then sign up, because it's just nonstop making a charging Chuck sound. And like it's all in that, like, there's two aesthetics at work here. One is like the new Super Mario Brothers. We are leaning into all of the Mario sounds, nonstop. But like, wah, like that version of it. And it's also the kind of crisp, too clean contemporary Nintendo UI, where like square boxes with like it feels like the Nintendo Switch UI, which is so boring. Do you know what I mean? It's like service. It works. It doesn't get in your way, and that's fine, but it's not flavorful in that way. More importantly, so far, and I'm very early on, and again, I've not done any of the like just play a tournament as Mario, like that style of like as if you're playing Mario Kart or something. I'm just doing the story mode so far. Which means I know I'm missing a lot of flavor, because I know there's like special super shots and stuff like that for all the main Mario characters, and I'm just like kind of seeing those off to the side as I play golf. But one of the biggest new features is that in many of the game modes, the reason it's called Super Rush is when you hit your ball, you then have to run to your ball. You hit the ball, and as it's landing, you're like, all right, pick up my shit and run to it. And you have a stamina meter, and you're like running to get hearts to give you more stamina so you can do your super run, and you're picking up coins. Coins are the currency that levels you up. I guess coins you spend on gear, but I think it may also improve your XP that levels you up. I might be wrong about that. It might just be for gear. And you're just like running across the course. There's a bunch of different like sub modes where like,
right?
Wait, that's speed golf, but there's also like cross country golf, where I like this more conceptually, where it's like, you have to get from, let's say you're on hole 1, let's say you're teeing off at hole 1, the hole you're going for is hole 4, and that's like up on a hill over there. And so you're like, all right, I guess we're going to just go up here and then over here, and there's a tornado in the way. And that stuff is like fun. That stuff, I think cross country golf or CX golf, whatever it's called, or XC golf is like probably the best of the new things that I've tried. The speed golf bums me out, because one of my favorite things about a golf video game is you hit that ball, and golf in general. Anytime I've like gone to the driving range, every time I've played golf, it's like you hit that ball. Where's that ball go? All right,
let's watch it.
Let's watch it. Let's watch it.
I lost it. Anyone catch it?
Did anyone see it? Where'd it go? Right, like, ooh, that was good. Oh, I sliced it off.
That's a tree.
That's
you hit a tree.
Exactly. And
cart path.
You can't do that in speed golf, because you're trying to run to the ball. You have to run to the ball, and that means you're like, oh, okay, I guess that was an okay shot. Sometimes you'll hit a great shot and like not get to enjoy that you like. I've hit the ball, I've chipped it in where like I didn't even notice I was about to chip it in, because I was running to try to get up to the green to get like set up to do the putt.
And are you doing this on like every? Is this
many
every time
of the tournaments are in speed golf?
So it doesn't feel like it's, hey, once every 10, like you're going to get to, you're doing this is a speed round.
Again, there's like the core new mechanics are about stamina and special shit and bouncing into people and knocking them over so they're slower. The speed golf rounds have like, you have 90 seconds to clear this round, basically, right? There's stuff here that I haven't tried yet that I really want to try. I really want to try Battle Golf, which is like, the battle mode in Mario Kart where you're trying to like paint different sections.
Yes.
And like, there's that, but golf where there's like 10 holes in a single like course, not even a course. Okay. It's more like a battle arena, and you're trying to like paint them your color by getting the ball in. That sounds great.
All right. Yeah.
I want to like try. I want to maybe try this.
Crowbar and Sickle go to.
Why not? Why not? Right? Get a code. Let's try it. I still think the golf feel is good. I'm still like, I think the tutorialization is like okay, but like. It was one of those things where like I discovered what the backspin button was before the game told me what the backspin button was, and then it didn't tell me what the topspin button was. I was like, I know there's some button here I can hit to do a topspin. I can't figure it out. And it was very frustrating because the backspin button is B. You hit B when you like lock in your shot instead of hitting A. The topspin button is hit A twice. And I would have never gotten there if I didn't dig through the menus to find the tutorial on that. You know what I mean? I would have been like, it's Y. Y then becomes the forward momentum one. And so like, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to play this on the bus probably. And we'll see how that goes. We'll see if that makes me sick. I'm playing golf on the bus. But it's not like, I did not knock it out the park for me off the bat, So
it's hard to.
It's a golf metaphor.
I always find myself like, because I play a decent amount of actual golf.
Yeah, you're a golfer.
Yeah, well, yeah,
you're a pro golfer.
I play enough that like I play probably 8 to 10 times a year. It's like what I do with my brother. It's like get away from like my kids. Like we get away and we go play golf in Wisconsin. So I play often enough that, but not often enough to like fully satiate like the thing that I enjoy about it. So I do like to play golf games, but I never like to play Sims. Like I've never gotten into playing.
You've never been
like,
a Tiger person?
No.
Really?
No.
Oh my God.
And I think part of that is because I'm no good at golf. Like what I enjoy out of golf is like going and having an excuse.
It's a walk. It's a nice.
It's like I like to hang out with my brother for an extended period of time. It's 10 in the morning. I cannot go to the bar, and like golf is like it's a different version of what people like what I get out of like going with my friends to like go to a bar for a couple hours is really less about drinking as much as it is about like an excuse socially to sit with people for a long period of time. And like golf is a different version of that. And so like, you know, I can play, I can keep it moving forward. I'm not like absolutely terrible. But like I then find myself more attracted to like pseudo sims of the Mario Golf or Golf Story or Desert Golf. Like I don't need to like play a game that is like reliving like my dream if I'd like learned how to play golf when I was in high school and like truly understood like how to hold a golf club. It's more just I want to revisit that sensation that you described of like watching the ball sail, and I like the arcadey aspect of it because it fits my own personality type of not taking golf itself at all seriously and not caring if I score an 8 because I'm really just here like for hanging out. And so but it's still a difficult thing. Like I liked Golf Story. I didn't love Golf Story.
That's exactly where I was at with it. But
I liked so much of what it did. Anyway,
yes, playing this makes me miss that structure of bouncing around and doing the little challenges in Golf Story where it'd be like, okay, over here we're doing this. And there's still some of that here, but like this makes me feel like that structure was so much more advanced in terms of being like an enjoyable core way of doing one of these, you know. I have one more note on this game, which is this tweet from my friend Kat. They've been playing this game. If you've not seen this, just you load this in. I'll count you in on this, and you tell me what you think should happen here when you're ready to. Are you ready to play?
The volume? Yeah, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go. Do a little putt here. They're putting.
Sure.
And that's a shame. That's a shame.
Whoa.
That's a shame.
Around the rim?
around the rim, and then it just stops. It just stops from nowhere. That's bullshit. I think that's a bullshit call. I think that game, if you spin around the rim more than 3 times, it should always drop. It should always drop.
I would
it
love
should not
to
just come. It comes to a complete stop from nothing. It's going full speed around that rim. It's not losing speed, and then it just stops.
It is though the ball became sentient. Its programmer said, "Hey, all right, this is sorry. We've not.
You're stuck in a loop.
We haven't programmed for this scenario. I need you to stop so before the game breaks."
Yes. So, KB, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that that didn't drop. It should have dropped for you. It looks like Toad was gonna outscore you on that one, unfortunately.
Could you in that scenario, if you are playing, could you have? Is it in real time to the point that another player could come up?
No, you can't touch the ball.
Okay.
I don't think the ball. I don't think that the golf balls can hit each other. I don't think.
I guess the scenario that like that could happen is so minuscule that like why would they program for it? So I guess that makes sense. But I mean,
when you're playing that speed golf, you're all up on each other's shit. Like you're very. It's like
I like the idea of like
you're throwing elbows.
A version of this a game mode where it's just everyone on the putting green. Just 1, 2, 3, shoot. Like
yeah. I don't know. Like there's totally a world in which I put another 5 hours into it and I've come around, you know, and my character gets who knows? Maybe I get used to it.
This Camelot, you said Camelot earlier, and I went to go look to see what other games they made, and this is it's the Golden Sun people.
Oh yeah,
which I didn't realize.
Camelot.
Well, are they the Golden Sun people if Nintendo will never let them make a Golden Sun game again? That's
well, they're also the thing to understand is they're also the Shining Force people,
right?
Which is like both they've made all-time great like genre-defining RPGs for both Sega and Nintendo, and they'll never get to do it again. And it's
hurts.
just heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking.
Well, I'm sure I have to imagine a lot of those people have left at this. If they really wanted to make the writing on the wall on the JRPG wall was erected a long time ago.
Totally. God. What do we? How are we feeling? What do we got? I guess I want to know briefly. One quick update. I'm still playing Scarlet Nexus. It survived the podcaster curse, which is a good sign.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
The real test will it survive the I leave town for a week? And can I come back and pick it up? We'll see. But I want to know about Ender Lilies, because that's a game I have on PC and keep thinking, should I return this on PC and buy it on Switch instead? Because
I got you. Remind me after this podcast. I can. Okay. I think I can deliver.
You make that happen.
Deliver a Switch. Yeah, Ender Lilies is a game. I not heard about it. And all of us get a lot of emails with a lot of pitches for a lot of games that frequently can look reductively, because of the nature of our jobs, like pretty samey. Like, it's hard to get an email pitch to get me interested. Frequently, I find most of my games that aren't things that are already on my radar through like Twitter, really, or like personal recommendations from friends. Like, it is pretty rare for like an email to grab me and like put a game on my lap that I hadn't found in some other fashion or more organic way. And I don't know, something I watched like a trailer for this one a couple of weeks back, and there was just something about it that grabbed me. I don't have like a great way of articulating. I was like, all right, frequently I'll just request spam request codes, and if people are okay with that, I just promise I don't know that anything's going to come of this or that my team will do anything with it, but I'll pass it on and we'll see what happens. Yeah. And this one I put in, and this is like as we're like leading up to, right after E3, saw Metroid Dread, and I'm like, I could go for, who knows, we're getting Silk Song. So like I could go for one of these, and if I could have just downloaded
a Metroidvania with like deliberate Soulsian combat.
Well, yeah, whatever. So just something playing in that space, and it's like I can't download Metroid Fusion. Like Nintendo won't let me do any of that. So all right, so let's check out.
They will not.
They will not. You cannot. I could. I
go get a Wii U. I think right.
I do, and I have it in storage. Last time I opened that Wii U was when that Mario Maker level where people were like basically running a slot machine in order to try and like get these pieces to line up to get to the other side. I don't know, look it up. I wrote about it years ago. Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, Ender Lilies is you wake up I've played maybe 2 hours of it. You wake up in a world, you're this like really frail looking girl, kind of
like a child.
Yeah, kind of generic looking kind of anime girl. And they don't you don't have any memory of like why you're here, like what's going on. Everything around you has completely turned to shit. And you come across this spirit that like promises to help you. And so you look at this frail child, like how are they going to attack in this world? Which granted, given the anime influence, like it's not like a hard sure, give her a sword and she could do it. But the way it actually Ender Lilies like actually works is that you are finding different spirits that then become sort of like these apparitions that you are using to kind of deploy various attacks. So like if you look up the kind of like headline art for this game, there's like this soldier type that is standing next to the child, and that is. You attack with that, but you're like the way it's presented in the game is really fucking cool because it is like this spirit in front of you that is doing the attacking. And it's still, despite the fact that it's like separated from you by a number of pixels, it doesn't like I haven't had any trouble like with the collision. Like it doesn't
like anticipating.
No. Now, granted, there are no, as far as I know, there are no parries in this game, so it doesn't have that level of sort of like mechanical. Or at least it doesn't go in that direction in terms of combat depth. So the fact that there is kind of an artistic separation between the characters' sprites is not a big deal. But that's sort of that like it starts with you attacking with this sort of spirit, and then over the course of the first couple hours, you start gathering other spirits that can do different things. Like one is sort of like this little slug creature that is kind of a bomb equivalent, where like you throw it releases some poison gas. And you start getting other ones that can let you jump higher and et cetera. And so part of what the game is building towards is like you can tap, I forget which button it is, but there's like a button where you can like switch between like your like equipped sets. So like my guess is you're going to end up having dozens of these spirits that do different things, can be upgraded by finding certain material that grant you new powers. And you can have something like 6 or 7 of these spirits available to you at any one time. They have a cooldown attached to them in terms of use, so you can't spam them, but then also you can only use them so many times before you get to your bonfire equivalent or collect something in the world that refills it. And it's one of the it does have the very soulsy stuff. It's a dark, depressing world fighting monsters that seem to have been human at some point. Like this blight has taken over that I don't have much information about, but it feels really good to play. It looks really gorgeous. Like it is a really wonderful looking kind of dark fantasy world. It's just it's fun. It's fun to explore. One of the bits that is a little bit unique is that when you fight a boss, and there are also like kind of NPCs that are in the world that you'll discover in the same way. Like people can kind of be rescued from their monstrous fate. Like you will fight them. You'll fight this boss, and then that sort of like releases them from this blight that has turned them into a monstrosity. And you'll get like a glimpse into their past and their relationship with the main character. Like if I remember correctly, because it's been a week and a half or so, but like the first major boss you fight, this giant creature that's going after you, and then you take it out, and it turns out actually this person was assigned to defend the main character and was eventually corrupted by this blight and now finds themselves, attacking the main character. And so you get a little more kind of, I don't know, like, less obtuse, more like direct storytelling. But I like the fact that you have these moments with the major creatures in the world where you get to kind of understand their motivations and how they arrived at where they are. And it's good. And the Metroid part is good. The combat part is good. It is scratching all of those familiar itches that it doesn't take a lot for me to get there. But if I'm going to actually finish a thing, it needs to hit a certain threshold. And this one is definitely doing that for me. And my guess would also do it for you. And I like how much variety you have in the combat, where you can kind of like spec out your character in different ways with these. Yeah,
I just saw a list of like you'd mentioned there's probably like a bunch of these, and I would say there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 25 maybe different of these spirits that you could equip. And you have a couple sets, so like you equip like 6 at once or 3 and 3, and like that seems like a fun way to build a character, and they all level up, and that's
And I would the art in screenshots, I don't think looks very impressive. It has strong. I love Flash, but I'm just using this as like a shorthand. But like the kind of like Flash vibes of. But this art is not. It is not cheap at all or in motion. It has like a real flow to it, and the amount of detail that's happening in the background. Like go look up a high quality video before you.
Sure.
Like anyone else, to parse information will be reductive to games, especially that have a certain art style at times. And that was the hill for me to climb originally. It was like looking at it, I'm like, I don't know. And then like in the first 10 minutes, like going through an area where like, I don't know, like watching the way the spirit comes off the main character and like these like fiery candles would sway in the background. I was playing it on a Switch. I bet it looks even more impressive, on a PC. Like it was one of the few, like I finally brought down an extra dock to the 4K TV in my in my office and was playing it down here. And it's just the problem of playing a 1080p game on a 4K screen. Like it just really exasperates the resolution issues. But it was the kind of situation where I almost found myself like wishing I was playing it on my PC instead. Now, granted, it looks great when I'm just playing it in handheld mode, but the moment I put it on the display, like the granular detail in the art, like I can just tell that like it gets hidden in a game like Hollow Knight, like just by the way it's drawn. Like I didn't find myself missing that, but I find myself like actively missing some of the resolution in Ender Lilies just because a lot of it is happening in the background. So yeah, I will figure out that code for you so you can check that out as well.
Appreciate it. A follow up, by the way. it was in fact Death's Gambit, which is getting an expansion, Afterlife. We raised this last week or maybe the week before, where we talked about there being another 2D, one of these 2D Souls-likes. We weren't sure, was it Death's Gambit? Was it Dark Devotion? What's the one that's a Fire Emblem like, Rob? That's Dark Deity. Dark Deity, which we should get an update for also. But Death's Gambit Afterlife is, I believe, the one we were both talking about. I found the tweet that made me go, is that going to be a thing that I should check out? That tweet was from, I want to say from Dominic Terrasin, who noted that the devs had kind of gone back through and given it a kind of like a decent facelift and upgrade to like the way it felt, and then this Afterlife version.
You're right. This is okay. I have now found the message board thread.
Okay,
that
I was pretty sure.
I saw a couple of gifs and I was like, ooh.
So one of us should check that out.
Is that out now?
I have no idea. I have no idea. Let's see. When is this Afterlife dropping? I'm
looking at the end of this thread.
I was going to say, and I'll look at the end of this trailer. There's no date on this.
Well, the trailer came out June 11th, so I'm going to guess that this is not out yet, but it is probably coming out.
Yes, that makes sense. Sometime this year is my guess.
Yeah. I'll look it up while we transition.
Yeah, you figure this out, and you should check it out. Rob, what's up? Have you stuck with Dark Deity?
Yeah, Rob, did you get some kids killed? This was your assignment after after last week.
So, yeah, they're fine.
I don't think people die. Yeah, they just take stat damage, right?
Yeah, really.
I should have raised that when I first played it.
Mild. Really mild stat damage. So like at every level, your characters it sort of rolls the dice and it sees how many stats get a +1.
This is a classic Fire Emblem thing because you either get to like fist pump and go, yo, yes, great level up, or be like, I fucking cannot believe this guy. This guy, really? You raised your magic damage? You don't use magic. Why would you raise that? Why would that be the one that, give me your strength. I need your strength.
Yeah, and so like if a character dies, they just take 1 point of damage off one of those stats. Chances are, like, this is the sort of game where 1, that'll be almost undetectable in terms of like how you're playing, and 2, there's 2 ways to get it back. Like in the next level, maybe that point accrues back, and so it doesn't really matter. Or maybe you can go to the item shop and buy like the sandwich that gives them +1 fortitude.
So I agree with this, that it's not a real thing. Like it doesn't change the thing. You have the spear guy that you get kind of early on. I don't remember the character names because it's been 2 weeks since I played. But do you get a spear dude pretty early on who I want to say the game thinks that he's going to be cool. And he died on me right away. And he didn't lose an important stat, but I think it shook his confidence. Do you know what I mean?
You're like Elias.
I'm talking about Elias.
I mean, he ain't no Bianca. First of all,
oh my God. Who is?
Yeah, it's like they play the same position, but they don't play the same game.
Did you explain Bianca to the team?
Okay. So early on, your pack of students meets with a couple veteran sort of officers who are going to lead them to the front. Sure. And it's the big serious mage dude, Lincoln, and his buddy, the more laid back Bianca, who is, her archetype is like spears and polearms and such. Yeah. But she gets like 2 strikes with her weapon like almost every time. Like her
speed is just good.
Does massive DPS, which also means that her counterattacks will also just fucking wreck people. Her pierce damage appears to be through the roof. So, like, if you're an armored character, like, good luck with that. She's going to stab you to death. Like, she walks around now. It's like she's the only character, pretty much, who is reliably one-hit killing enemies. Wow. So it's just a question of, like, who does Bianca go take out? Elias, meanwhile, has ostensibly a similar skill set, can't do shit.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
I'm trying to keep him alive, and he's making it real hard, and I'm wondering if it's even worth it.
Well, you can't. Eventually, I know I'm gonna have enough characters. I can't field everybody. So, like, maybe Elias, I should just put him on the bench now. He'll get used to it. You know?
Damn.
It gets tough because you get characters who you know are. You unlock that thief? There's that level where you
Sia or
Sia,
the badass ones. Well, they're both badass.
I don't remember their names.
Okay, did you fight the necromancer?
Yeah. And you recruit all those new people and all that. Or you get like half of the people who show up. You like get to play as a bunch of high level people for that mission.
You'll get the rest.
I know. Yeah, of course. But the one you get before that, the one that you get in the lock up, she's also incredible because she's just untouchable. She's just like so fast that she's a tank actually. You know?
Yeah, you put her out there. Her dodge is so high.
Yeah.
That like she doesn't do tons of damage. Most
but she'll chip away.
Yeah.
I'm glad it sounds like you're enjoying this game. I
am, but I'm still kind of on like. I
missed your initial. Remember, I wasn't here last. I left before you talked about this.
It's the familiar complaint. The battles are just a shade easy, and I will say, because some of these characters are squishy enough that they're harder to keep alive. Like I definitely have to be more careful in the battles to get everyone through. Usually, I'm losing someone because the AI is really ruthless about like. Picking one person in a turn and just targeting them down. And so you start to realize like, oh, I just need to not put that character in a salient where there's going to be 3 or 4 attacks on them in a turn. I need to keep that from being possible.
And in that necromancer fight, you need to remember that they can shoot through the walls if they have bows for some stupid reason. I don't know if I don't understand what the layout of that place was. Rob.
No, it was just, so it wasn't walls. It was like rifts in the floor. Like it was, the ground was like breaking
I was reading
apart.
That completely wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
I took advantage of it myself and was starting to like blast people with my weird new warlocks or whatever for sure. But I did not. Okay. There are holes in the floor. That makes way more sense.
Which is why you're warping around from section to section.
Yes.
But yeah, so like the battles are a little trickier than I thought. I'm still not. There's not a lot of interesting tension among the characters. Everyone seems pretty chill. And I'm missing, again, that, like, Fire Emblem Three Houses is carried by the fact that there's a lot of interesting characters. Like, there's characters with real edge. Here, everyone is so fucking sweet, I just want to strangle some of them. Like, I can't wait till somebody drop kicks that little mage.
Just like the little guy? He's so strong, dude.
Yeah, they're all just cute as goddamn buttons. You meet Sloane, who's a mage, and she's like haughty. She's a noble, a sort of noble in decline. And so she's kind of an arrogant prick with everyone for one conversation, and then like she thaws out immediately, and it's like you're not so bad. And so I'm kind of waiting for like these, like I want some interesting like things to latch onto with these characters, and I'm still not quite getting it.
I feel like this is not going to happen in that. I think everyone's going to be a little too likable all the way through. I think you're totally right about that, and just like. It's
dude, it's right on. Like it's just good enough to keep me on. Like that's the thing. Yeah. It's so easy for me to say I'm gonna fire that up and play one mission.
Just play one mission. I think that might be its best strength. Is it's very easy to just drop into it and play a mission, like advance a little bit. Even just like, okay, how do I want to upgrade? What weapon do I want to upgrade here? That stuff scratches an itch for me that like. Just the contemporary Fire Emblems don't necessarily. I think I was highest on Three Houses Among Us. I'm still mad. I think none of you have seen the Javelins of Light cutscene yet. Something I was going to show you at our Three Houses spoiler cast, and that just like never happened. For scheduling reasons, it's fine. It is what it is. But the kind of simplicity here of just like advance to the next map, see a cutscene, have people talk, and then beat up some bandits or whatever is just it works. Yeah, it's a good model.
It's the thing is I wish this was harder, but at the same time, this morning I woke up, I didn't get much sleep. I needed a game that I could play with one hand while I just like nurse my coffee and like waited for my brain to fully like boot up. And this worked pretty well. And so it's definitely in that there's a sweet spot of a game just being kind of okay. And in some ways that can make it more appealing than a lot of games I think I like more. Just because it is like kind of, it's low impact. It's like a really accessible show on Netflix or something.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's binge worthy in that way, right? Where like
I know what this 1 hour play experience is going to be. And it's going to be fine.
Yep. Thinking about some of the stuff that's like, think about Bianca, right? I think that it actually is really, I think that there's actually a lot of skill in knowing when to give you a character like that, someone who you can develop into an absolute beast. The thing that happens in Fire Emblem games a lot is early on, you'll get a mounted character who is extremely like high level, and the rookie mistake is to overuse them because they can one-hit kill anybody. They can get you to any.
You got to use them to level up your friends.
Other people. Exactly. That's exactly right.
You get them set up so that my farm boy with the tin hat can get up there and get the kill.
Exactly. They set them up and Donald knocks them down. And that's the game. That's the beginning. When you get Bianca, she's right in between. Like, Lincoln is the higher level invincible dude, and Bianca is like just under him by like a couple of levels, and she's just a couple of levels above your other crew. And so you don't have to not use her in the same way. And she's even better at setting things up because she's not going to one-hit kill anybody when you first get her, the way that Lincoln will. And so it's just like, I think that that's like a very adept variation on that traditional, you get one superpowered guy. You get this woman who's just like all around great team player out the gate and ready to move into a starting role the second everybody else catches up. You're not going to bench her. But I often end up benching the super strong guy because I'm just like, I'm not using him enough. I don't like him, that whatever, he's a cavalier or whatever, that's fine, but I'm going to focus on my core crew. I want to level them up.
You want it's more fun to be the wrecking ball who's earned the right of being the wrecking ball.
Exactly.
At the end.
Yes. I also just do like all the promotions in this. I like fiddling over. I wish they showed you the stats of your character. I wish they showed you I wish you could just like see everything about your character as they are pre-promotion. Because sometimes when I'm looking at the promotion screen, I'm like, wait a second, can I get a better vision of what my character is right now? And they give you some of the stats, but I feel like I'm missing something when that screen shows up, Anyway, Dark Deity. That game's good. Good enough to play.
That's it. No, there's
before we wrap up, there is some news today that is like extremely heartbreaking. Patrick, did you want to talk about this situation?
Content warning for suicide.
For suicide, and harassment.
And harassment.
Seriously.
Yeah, early this year I wrote a piece profiling a really extraordinary, mostly known for their SNES emulation programming, Nier, also went by Bayou, B-Y-U-U, B-Y.
Yeah, and Nier is N-E-A-R here.
Yes.
Right?
I spent like 6-8 weeks like going back and forth with Nier because, as Rob loves to correctly rib me, like nothing attracts Patrick more than the headline of the 25-year journey to accomplish X niche task. And part of the reason I'm attracted to those stories is because those people are just like more of an open book. They will talk to you about their lives and what they're up to and why the things that they did. And when I saw this one, I didn't know what the story was. I thought on its face, I was like, yeah, that's a story that I would write, but I couldn't figure out like, but why? Like, what is it beyond just like the blog post that is?
So that post was the 22-year perfectionist journey to localize the obscure Bahamut Lagoon, which is an SNES JRPG, right?
Yes, yeah. Well, and it was
Square.
It was released in the SquareSoft era, pre-Square Enix, when they were a powerhouse in terms of making JRPGs, but this was it was not an era in which every game came over. So go read that piece to get the the full breakdown of this timeline. But like what led up to me wanting to write that story was like the emails I would send Nier were just like so meticulous and interesting. I couldn't understand half of what was in there. And I still couldn't figure out what the story was. But I was like, well, I'm just going to keep going back and forth with this person because they are being generous with their time and seem interested in answering. And at some point, hopefully, like there will be clarity on something that I want to write, or maybe not, and it'll just have been a pleasant conversation. And we spent a lot of time going back and forth talking about like growing up. Like one of the most interesting nuggets in the profile I wrote was about how when they were trying to teach themselves how to program, they were about to spend, and I should note as an aside, just so I don't forget, the profile I wrote uses he, him pronouns that were at the request of Nier at the time. So that story, I need to go back and edit it to better reflect how they identified at the time of their passing. But like that story was not misgendering. That was, I have an email that is, what would you like me to do? So that was covered at the time. Things are different now. There will probably be a question about that, and I'm aware. They were told that they were going to go for a summer vacation to their grandmother's house and weren't allowed to bring their computer. But their grandmother wasn't told that was the case. And so they found a way when they got dropped off at their grandmother's they had squirreled away a bunch of money on the side, and they went to Fry's or Best Buy and bought a bunch of parts, and they built a computer at their grandmother's house, left all those parts there at the end of the summer, and came out of that experience with the building blocks to build. If you want to understand the legacy
that's
of
a different era. Also, it's a different era.
This is really early internet, very difficult to like connect with groups online to kind of like have shared experiences. Like Nier, came into the emulators, came out of, modern emulators came out of like the internet connected era where people could collaborate. But it wasn't as
also
easy.
Just building a PC at the time.
Oh God, yeah,
is a different. You would if you managed to do that with the money you'd scrape together to go to a Fry's and buy those parts, and then that's a hobbyist endeavor in a way that today it still is. It's still, I would still say that's a hobbyist endeavor, but to a lesser degree because of the barrier of entry is a lot lower in terms of just how you do it.
Yeah, you really got to be dedicated to the cause, and like their grandmother's place was out in the middle of nowhere, like it was 20 miles to a McDonald's, like like you couldn't walk in, like it was that kind of situation. And to understand like the because it's probably less appreciable now in sort of like modern emulation. The emulators that Nier worked on were like accuracy specific, whereas things like SNES 9X and things of that ilk were performance specific, which was, what do you want to do? You want to play Super Mario World. Are you going to notice that like the shadows are a little bit different? No, probably not. You just want to play Super Mario World. And Nier found that just endlessly irritating. Just like really just drove them, like it just like they couldn't stand it. And so a lot of what the early work they did was called I think the specific term is like cycle accurate emulation, in which you are trying to the best of your ability accurately recreate how like the CPU and other elements of this device worked. And I always had a challenge in the piece explaining like how to, like what the right analogy is. And I liked one that I saw that was in celebrating Nier's work over the weekend, which was and it was the SNES in particular was a difficult sort of beast to nail down in this regard. Like if you imagine the SNES as a programming language, like what do you do if that programming language switches on a dime constantly? And like that is part of what Nier was tasked with doing, and part of the legacy of when Nier started releasing their emulators, people complained because they said, "Hey, I'm playing Super Mario World and it runs like shit." And Nier's response was, well, that's on purpose. It's because it's accurate. And so like it took years for the emulators to get more proficient, and for computer hardware to just kind of catch up to allow people to appreciate the work that Nier was doing. So that's all to like set up the broader like a lot of. I'm gonna write a piece about this after this podcast, but I spent a long time talking to Nier about their harassment. There was so much pain in the emails that I exchanged with them. A lot of what Nier was worried about was they're very happy to do a profile about their work, but endlessly terrified that piece would amplify existing harassment. Nier had gone into retirement. Part of the reason they went by the pseudonym Nier instead of Bayou was because an attempt to distance themselves from harassment, specifically from the doxing farm, Kiwi Farms, the online that I'm sure you've heard, in passing. And Pass It is a website explicitly dedicated to hosting the doxing of information to create coordinated harassments of individuals. My information it's probably still up there. But some people are picked on more than others. Some people have more support than others.
It is gruesome to look at that site and to see
the world is. There are so many things that are awful in the world, and Kiwi Farms ranks so high on the things that if you could snap a finger, it would make the world a better place immediately for so many people. And there is not an easy way to make that not happen.
Would you believe that the cruelty involved in picking who they harass often breaks down on lines of marginalization, including queerness and neurodivergency and, race and sex? Like, would you be surprised? No.
And in talking to Nier, that they were explicitly told and was rubbed in their face, these are the reasons we're attacking. And the only reason I'm even divulging any of these details, none of that was, very little was in the story. I negotiated down to a place where they would feel comfortable. I was like, I have to talk about the fact that you were tired. I know I know why that is. Like, how can we arrive at a place where I can include enough detail that the reader can either do their own research or in buried links, or can at least have an understanding of like why we're at the place that we were. And we found a place, where we both felt comfortable about that. And I wouldn't have proceeded with the piece if they hadn't signed off on that. But it was the kind of thing where I cannot, their tweets in explaining, where they arrived at, prior to us, sort of learning that they had taken their life. Like, they specifically mentioned Kiwi Farms. They mentioned the harassment. They mentioned, they specifically cite like this moment in their life, the decision they were making came back to Kiwi Farms and the harassment efforts that had occurred at that horrible place. And that is something that it made the piece so challenging to write, because you just saw this person, and this was part of their story. Like this, it was part of what I found interesting about them, was like, this person was so driven, so in so much pain, so hurt, and yet got up every day and wanted to make themselves better, wanted to make the lives of others better, make the history of video games a better place through their extraordinary genius, and such unique genius. Like, there won't be other people that can replicate that work. They'll only just be lucky enough to maintain it. And so anyway, like this story kind of concludes with, I was this weekend, I was out with family, and I had just my youngest, my oldest was on a family trip with my wife, and I went out to get a couple of drinks with friends, get back, and right before I went to bed, I got a glass of water, and I'm just like chilling out before I go to sleep, and all of these tweets from people who are panicking. So what, the timeline event, there's a Kotaku piece you can go read that'll give you, on their front page right now that has the time. Basically, there was essentially a suicide note in a series of tweets. And people were trying to find some way to get in touch with Nier, and people did Googling, and I had written, one of the last major, pieces about Nier. And so, before I went to bed, all I had was an email, but, I have this email in my box I've just been staring at for the last 2 days of just, hey, Nier, how are you? I'm concerned about what I saw. What can I do to help? And I had already my suspicions at that point of where we were, but and I don't carry any guilt on my conscience about the story or anything like that. But I don't know. It was just I don't want to overly center myself in the story, but I've never gone through a thing like that before, and it's just, to read through those emails is just so painful. My heart breaks for a person who was made so many great contributions to the world to be destroyed by something so uniquely evil, and for that pain to not have been known. And that's, so when I say not to center myself, it's I wanted so badly for that part to be known, because I wanted people to understand what this person was going through and what the unique pain this website was causing this person. And that's where you find yourself in this catch-22, where the moment you discuss it, the moment that is going to spin up for this specific person. And what was so unique maybe not unique, but was unique in my experience watching harassment campaigns, was the degree to which the folks on Kiwi Farms would target their friends and family and dox them as a measure to, where Nier didn't want to discuss what was happening, because the moment they raised their hand to explain why they were in the place that they were opening the people in their lives to that very same threat of harassment. And that just weighed on me. I don't think writing about it in the story would have changed things, but I sit with a great weight knowing that person was privately in pain. I knew of that pain. There was nothing I don't think I reasonably could have done any different, but nonetheless, I sit with it anyway. And it's awful. And I think that's my main takeaway, is that the world lost a great thing, and it shouldn't have, and there are people responsible, and they will almost certainly receive no justice. This
is the most frustrating thing. I think there are no amount of people in this industry who know what Kiwi Farms is and know what they do, and it can often seem that no amount of coverage can chip away at their ability to hurt people. And also, I think part of it is there is a resignation that this is a part of life. This is what it means to be a public figure now, and that the internet has changed what it means to be a public figure in a way where this information is accessible. There are very few protections for people who do not have a lot of money. Like, you need to be rich to be able to attain a thing like privacy now, and even that obviously is not privacy and safety, I guess is what I would say. That's just not available for a lot of people. And when you have organized harassment campaigns like this, those people are celebrating.
Yeah.
Right now. That is the degree of cruelty we're talking about. We are not talking about, some grade school bullies who themselves are going through some shit and at home and blah. Like, the degree of cruelty on display is outrageous. I am very much of the mind that even though it can be like whack-a-mole, where, hey, if Kiwi Farms goes down, another site will pop up in 6 months, I think the thing that should be done is that the Cloudflare protection should, be removed. The whoever the host is should be boycotted until in a targeted and direct and demand filled way.
Well, and it's hard not to imagine there can't be legislative means
100%
to put this into the ground. Like, it shouldn't be
100%.
Where like New Zealand found themselves incapable of doing anything because they hosted the shooting, the Christchurch shooting. And New Zealand attempted to extract IP information from Kiwi Farms, and they basically told them to fuck off, and there was nothing much New Zealand can do. So they took the extraordinary step of banning Kiwi Farms on an IP level from, and it's like, come on. Like, I mean, I understand how you arrive at that place but there has to be a better way out of this. And so if any movement of a rock moving up a hill towards that, whether it is just the whack-a-mole of killing off that, or moving slightly further in any sort of legislation or work that isn't just like suicide prevention hotlines, like, that's already, we're too late. Like, it shouldn't have made it to this point.
It's one of those things where it's like, I'm going to read the suicide prevention hotline number because it's important to when we have these conversations. But I will also, in adjacency with that, will make two appeals, which is, one is I've lost friends to suicide, who I love dearly and who I miss a great deal, who I understand the pain that they were in. This is the second part of this, is I understand the pain that they were in. I have lived with suicidal ideation for most of my life at this point, based on my age. The majority of my life, I have been depressed and have yearly been very deep in it. So I am deeply sympathetic to people who are going through it. And I've done my best to... The reason I say that out loud is because I want you to know that feeling is not and should not be a point of despair itself, because ideation is a thing that happens, but it's not a thing that needs to resolve in self-harm, and it does not need to resolve in your death. It is often, as someone who has lived through this, extremely frustrating to see very trite responses to the pain that leads to ideation. It can feel dismissive, and it can feel naive, and it can feel condescending, which is why I want to speak about it, because I'm someone who's lived through it. Mm-hmm. You just don't know. It can feel definitive that the pain will disappear and that the world will be better without you. You don't know if tomorrow will be better or not. And that can be terrifying, but I want to emphasize that it can also be, in many ways, if you can find it in the absurdity of it, hopeful. Tomorrow could be better. It really, truly could be. It has been for me. Like, I don't, even now, even with Waypoint Plus, even with friends at the table, all that shit does not stop my brain from just like wanting to implode on itself sometimes. There is no amount of success that will just like rewire my brain that way. I know that. But because I've pushed through that, and because I've been thankful enough to have support and help, I believe that I've been able to bring a degree of joy and support to other people in my life. And I don't know that I'll win that fight forever, but that is enough for me currently to keep me in that fight. And it is a fight. And I think for me, I talk about this often in the way that I think you talk about being an addict. It is not a thing you conquer forever. It's a process that's ongoing. And it is something that I want people to know there are resources, but more importantly, there is the possibility. There is the open-ended possibility of the future where you could find yourself in an equilibrium. You can find yourself with good days, and you can find yourself with people you love and with work that you love and with things that you love. Finding a thing to care about in that way, however small, like dead ass, you do not know how many times it has been, I cannot wait. You know what? I really want to play this game. It can be small, and that is not a failure, and that is not it can be, I really want to see this person again. It can be all that stuff. Like, finding those things in your life is necessary and is not something I think that you should feel bad about if that's the stuff that's keeping you going. And if you've never thought about it like this before, please take some of this to heart when I say that the pain is really like that. It really, truly is. And there are people in your life who might be going through it in that way, and do your best to support them and love them. And when you talk to them about this, or when they look for you for help, please do your best not to be dismissive. Please do your best to be as supportive as you can without being condescending. Because some of the lowest points I've been in my life have been when I say that I'm in this place, and what people do is they simply remind me why I shouldn't be. And so if you're out, and I'm not saying that it's easy to intuit what the right response is. But I think that for me and for many people, that place has to come from a genuine interest and love, and not from a desire to disengage as quickly as possible. So that is my appeal to you. I will say that for those of you in the United States, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-8255. But I only wanted to say that after I made a much more direct and honest conversation about my own history here. And I could go on and go on.
Yeah, like and I just,
I've said it before. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and I just, if I can contribute anything to, like when these tweets came out from Nier, and then we found out, the resulting actions, it's part of what I wanted to make clear about my own previous interactions with Nier and the conversations I had that I kept private and feel, an obligation to like, this fight was ongoing. This was not like, this was not something arrived at flippantly. This was a long held pain. Like the sway of optimism that you talk about was so present and that's what made the emails and rereading them this morning, while also trying not to get too upset about reading the emails, but wanting to revisit those specific conversations where they would talk about like the things they were doing, whether it was therapy or some emulator work or some other thing in their life. Like they were finding those ways to every day wake up and not put that to the side, but find ways to be excited and motivated to find that better tomorrow, even if it only lasted for that day. And then you have to find the new thing the day after that. And I just want to make so clear that process was happening, and that only underscores the tragedy of what did occur, because this is not a person that wasn't aware of their situation, took it any lightly, like was so cognizant of their own pain and trauma, and really was, by all accounts, going through extraordinary measures to put distance from they were putting in the work. And if this is where we arrived, it only underscores the tragedy of the situation all the more, and makes it all the more painful.
It is a deeply sad thing and a deeply angering thing because of the role that Kiwi Farms played here. And
which is also unique in this circumstance, was to have the specificity of what occurred. Now, granted, Nier spoke to me and spoke publicly about, lifelong traumas, this, but there is, at the end of the day, to have the individual themselves and a long history of harm to others, it is just so specific. I don't know that if Kiwi Farms didn't exist, that Nier never has mental health issues again. I don't think Nier would have said that. I don't think that's what we're saying here either. But
of course.
But this is something that is actionable, is specific, could make the world a better place, and by all accounts, greatly contributed to the actions that occurred over the weekend. And I think that is pretty undeniable.
Totally. All right. I feel like on that note, probably not the vibe to dip immediately here into the question bucket, and then we let this one ride out. I will be gone for the remainder of the week. Will not be on the Friday episode, and I will note we will not have a Monday episode or a Tuesday episode next week because of the holiday in the States. But we'll be back again later this week. We will be doing a Tactical Tuesday today. I think Tactical Tuesday is the XCOM campaign is coming to an end, not this week, but in the near future. So stay tuned for some more of that. We'll do more Tactical Tuesday, obviously, afterwards, but we'll see. And otherwise, as always, you can send your questions to gaming@vice.com. You can follow all of us, twitter.com/waypoint, waypoint.vice.com. You can support us by going to waypointplus.com. You can follow Kato at
A_Kato_appears.
Rob
at Rob Zachney,
and Patrick
at Patrick Klepek.
Sending love to all of you this week. Those of you both affected by the conversation we just had, and those who have otherwise lived through their own struggles and their own loss. Someone who's been, again, on both sides of that. I please know that I'm sympathizing with you. I'm sending you my love. I've been through it. We will be back later this week. Until then, fuck capitalism. Go home. Love the people who are important to you, and love yourself if you can do it. Peace.
ねえ、どこにいるかな。本当？見えないでしょ？どこにいるのかな。見えない。あ、こんなとこに。